Hello, friends. So we are just checking out a grub there. That is a Beetle Grub. We're gonna wait just a minute or two, see if some more friends join us, and then we'll get started. You can see our beetle grub is starting to dig down into the soil. Does not like the light. All right, it is 10:01. We are gonna get started. Let me get my camera here. We're gonna turn it around. Hello and good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are at or when you are watching this video. So I am in Iowa. My name is Jenny, and I run the Insect Zoo at Iowa State University. Iowa is very, very windy today. Very windy. Like, I almost blew over walking to my building this morning. So, yes, very windy today. So I am Jenny. I run the Insect Zoo. Iowa State University is in Ames, Iowa. And at the Insect Zoo, we travel around and we teach kids about bugs. That is my job. It's fantastic. And right now we can't travel, so we have started doing these Facebook Lives. And I just want to take a minute to say thank you to everyone who has joined our lives, who has shared our lives with their friends, with their students, anybody. And if you want to share them, share them. So all of these lives are public on our Facebook page, and also we have them uploaded on YouTube and our Insect Zoo's website. So if you know people who don't have Facebook, but they might be interested in our stuff, they are already posted on our Facebook page, but I will post them again in this video so that you have easy access to our channel on YouTube and also our website. Okay, so now to business. So I am an entomologist, and if you've watched our lives, you know what an entomologist is, but for any newcomers, I am going to explain what it is. So an entomologist is a scientist who studies bugs. But as entomologists, we don't only study bugs, we study the largest group of animals on Earth called arthropods. Now, to be an arthropod, you must have an exoskeleton. And an exoskeleton is a skeleton on the outside of the body. So we do not have an exoskeleton because our bones are on the inside of the body. So what animals have exoskeletons? Skeletons on the outside of the body. Those are insects, spiders, tarantulas, millipedes, centipedes, scorpions, shrimp, crabs, and lobsters. So a lot of the animals, in fact, most of the animals on our planet are arthropods. And there are more arthropods on our planet than any other animal combined. So that is a lot of animals. Now, today we are going to talk about insect legs. Well, these are my hands. Insect legs and mouth parts. It's gonna be super fun. So we're gonna look at some animals that are alive. We're gonna look at their mouth parts and their legs, and then we're also going to check out some animals that are preserved, including one of the insects that we pinned. Was that last week or the week before that, where we did a pinning demonstration? So we're gonna look at one of those and see how it turned out, and also look at its legs and mouth parts because they're really cool. So I am going to focus the camera down. We've had enough of seeing me. So this guy right here is what we started our live video with. This is a Nasties Hercules beetle larva or grub. And it is, right now it is burying itself in the soil. So these guys are decomposers, and they eat dead rotting wood, dead leaves. They'll chew through some soil, and they make vitamins for our earth. So they're very, very important. And we talked about one of these guys on the live about beetles. So I want to just share our video real quick. That's all I'm doing, sharing the video. And then we're gonna first talk about chewing mouth parts. Chewing mouth parts. So insects can have all different kinds of mouth parts. Those include chewing mouth parts, sucking mouth parts, which are like butterflies, moths, if they have them, piercing, sucking mouth parts, which are true bugs, and we're going to look at those, chewing, lapping mouth parts, which is a bee. So those are the most common types of mouth parts. And the most common out of all of those is a chewing mouth part. And this guy right here, this grub, has a chewing mouth part, and they're so big. I'm gonna blow them off. His mouth part is so big that it's really easy to see a lot of it. So I've got my thumb here so that we can see most of the mouth part there. And we're gonna talk about the different parts. What do you see on that beetle's mouth? What can you see? Well, I can see, first, the part that stands out to me the most is the mandibles. Can you see those? I've got, see this right here? He has 1, 2 mandibles, and he does not like me touching those, does he? He thinks I'm a piece of wood that he can chew up. So he has chewing mouth parts. So he's gonna have these big, giant mandibles that are used for crushing things. So this guy uses them to crush rotting wood, which is really tough. So it's like a big pair of scissors, big tough pair of scissors. See how they close? Other chewing mouth part insects will use those to chew up insects or chew up plants. Then what else can I see? Let me see if I can get him to open up a little bit. Oh, I don't want him to bite himself. He's getting all like irritated. He's like, nope, nope, nope. Okay, if I can open this up a little bit, we can see, come here, buddy. He's not gonna let me look. Let me look at a beetle. I'll get out a beetle here. I'm gonna put this on a yellow background because it is black. So if we look at our beetle's mouth, we can see, can you guys see that? Nope. Let's get back out our beetle here. Or let's look at this guy. How about the walking stick? See, I brought lots of different examples of a chewing mouth part. So this is a New Guinea spiny walking stick. We have looked at this guy before during our walking stick video. So this guy has a chewing mouth part that he uses to chew leaves. Oh, sorry, buddy. He almost fell off of there. Let me just get him. We're also going to talk about his legs later. So this guy lost an antenna. Do you see that? Poor guy. And I think he's an adult, so he won't grow it back. But that's okay. He's got one. So this guy, look at these. We can see these big. Here, let me get it. See if I can open it. Very gently, I am pulling this down because I do not want to hurt him. And on him, can you see those 3 things? There's 3 parts there that I just put up. Let me get it closer. And then I'm going to hold you still just a little bit. And I am not hurting this walking stick. I am being very gentle with him. And you can see here's one right here. You see that? That is a maxillary palp. It's like he uses it to taste and to feel. And then there's another little part of his mouth. And then there's a 3rd and 4th part right there. Can you see those? You see all those different parts? Check that out. Okay. Then if we look up closer, let me get focused here. Look at his cute little face. Isn't he cute? I love walking sticks' mouths. They are chewing mouth parts, but you can see all the different parts of his mouth. So his palps, see, these palps, they cover the mandible. And let me see. It's all right, buddy. I want to see your little mandibles. Can I see them? No? Okay. He's like, okay, lady, you're crazy. Okay, yes, the walking stick is very cool. And are those type of walking sticks found in the wild around here? Well, these are not found in Iowa. These are from Papua New Guinea, these walking sticks. So you cannot find them in the United States or literally anywhere else except Papua New Guinea. Unless they are in a zoo or some sort of a bug zoo like ours. We're going to let him calm down a little bit. And in the meantime, we're going to look at a beetle, a bigger beetle that hopefully will let us check out her chewing mouth parts. Ooh, she is actively using her chewing mouth parts right now. So this is a female Nasties Hercules beetle. This was raised as a larva or a grub in the insect zoo. And she didn't have a very successful time because she's really small, and this was our first successfully raised from a larva. And she's had some stuff, but you can see she is head deep, almost up to her thorax. She's almost thorax deep into this apple that she is just devouring. So I'm gonna make her part from that. Look at that. I mean, for us that looks gross, but for her that is delicious. She was just in apple heaven right there with that delicious apple. So let's see if her mouth, if she will let me look at her mouth a little bit more. It's too dark. Let me see if I can turn on my light if that helps. Oh, a little bit. So her mouth is kind of like a little paintbrush. So she actually She does have a chewing mouth part. And remember, this came from that grub. You know, that grub that we started off with those big old mandibles? Here, I'll show you. See how much it changes. All right. Trying to get this guy so he doesn't bite himself. Or me, for that matter. So look at those big old mandibles. And then when they're an adult, this is what their mouth looks like. Do you see how much different that is? It is super different. So even between, I mean, they're both chewing mouth parts, but they're completely different. And the larva looks way different than the adult. And that's because they eat different things. So this lady eats rotting fruit and she feeds on nectar and pollen. So she doesn't have to have those giant scissor-like mandibles. Instead, let me get, no, it's okay. It's not going to hurt you. She's like, this is a weird metal thing. Look at, you can see her little mouth part there. And she's got lots of teeny tiny hairs. Can you see all those hairs? Those hairs are called setae. And they, of course, are helping her to eat. And there's for sensory, and there's lots of muscles inside of there. All sorts of different parts. Their mouths are very complex. So those were chewing mouth parts. And look, our walking stick has decided to go for a walk. I didn't put a lid on his container, so he just wanted to go for a walk. So what's another type of mouth part, or who else has a chewing mouth part? Praying mantids have chewing mouth parts. And here is our dead leaf mantis. Come here, my friend. Let me get the walking stick out of the way. Here is the dead leaf mantis. We looked at these the other day. Last week, I think it was. Just little babies. So they have chewing mouth parts, but they don't use them to eat leaves or fruit. They use them to eat insects. They eat insects. And they like to hang upside down. See if I can focus in on that a little better. Get it? So these guys have a chewing mouth part, but they use them for different things. Okay, let's put him away. We're gonna look at his legs, which are very small, but I also have a big one that is preserved that we can look at. Okay, so how about a new type of mouth part? We talked about this insect the other day, and I explained that it has a piercing, sucking mouth part. So now this insect is alive, but I have placed it in the refrigerator, and our walking stick has gone clear across on the other side of the table. I'm going to grab him, and sorry, buddy, you can't be free range. We're gonna have to put a lid on it. Put a lid on it. Okay, so I explained last time, or when we talked about these before, these are true bugs, the order Hemiptera, and they have a saliva. Their saliva is causes necrosis or rotting of the skin. So I have put this insect into the refrigerator, not the freezer, the refrigerator, to slow it down. It's not dead, it's still alive, but that way it doesn't try to bite me. And they also fly, because I do not want that to happen to me. So this is a white-eyed assassin bug, and it is a true bug in the order Hemiptera. So beetles, what we were just looking at, are a Coleoptera. They are a beetle. So here is the piercing, sucking mouth part of the white-eyed assassin bug. And you can see that it is a very long beak. So this part here is called a beak. And all of that stuff that we saw on like the other, the chewing mouth part is actually wrapped up into this beak. It's all sealed in there. So how do they use it? Well, they pierce it. So it's a piercing, sucking mouth part. So they pierce whatever they're going to eat with their beak, and then they suck out everything. And they leave, like if they're eating an insect like this guy does, they would leave the exoskeleton behind. Some, look, his antennae are starting to move. Some plant pests have piercing, sucking mouth parts. So they will pierce into the leaf and they will suck out the juices from the leaf, which is really bad. So if you ever find a leaf and it looks like a piece of lace, that was from a insect that has a piercing, sucking mouth part. Whoops, hello. Okay, so this one is starting to wake up. He's moving a little bit. I can see his antennae, and I really, really, really do not want to get bitten by these guys. So I'm gonna put him into his cup and put the lid on. And then we're going to look at another insect that has a piercing, sucking mouth part that you will see around your house. Does anybody know what this is? Can you tell me what that is? You hear these in the fall. They live up in the trees and on those cool, or on those hot summer nights, you'll hear the. I'm really bad at doing impressions, but that kind of whiny sound up in the trees. Oh, I love that sound, and I love the summer. I love all the bugs that come out. A cicada, you are right. So this is a cicada, and this is called a periodical cicada. So periodical stands for year. So you can also call them a yearly cicada, except these cicadas, that yearly refers to when they emerge from the ground. So these emerge yearly, but, oh, I called this a periodical cicada. I'm sorry, this is an annual cicada. Annual means year. And so that means that they emerge every year from the ground. However, these guys actually emerge every 3 years. But cicadas have something called a brood. And so a brood is like when they were laid, basically. So there are broods that are laid of these every single year. So we have them hatch out every year. That's why we see them every year and why they are called an annual cicada. But really, they live underground for 3 years. For 3 years, they live underground as a nymph, and they eat the roots of trees. If it's an older tree, it's not enough to cause any harm, but new trees, it can cause harm too. So these are an annual cicada. And then I also want to explain a periodical cicada. Periodical means it periodically emerges. So it's staggered. And there are 15-year cicadas and 17-year cicadas. So that means that they live underground for 15 years or 17 years before they come out. Those look different. They're black. There was a brood that came out a couple years ago here in Iowa, and there's pretty much a brood every year somewhere happening. And they can be small broods or they can be really large broods. And we're going to check out the piercing, sucking mouth part on this because cicadas are a true bug. And if we look at this beak, So do you see how its mouth is under its body? And then you see this line right here. And this is a preserved insect, so I can't move it a lot. but we can see right here, my forceps are underneath of this beak. Can you see that? And it goes all the way down to his thorax, so it ends right here. I'm gonna turn him this way. You see that? Okay, so I want to talk about the different positions of an insect's mouth. Because on the beetle, you saw how the mouth went in front of its body. So like in this, with this guy is feisty. He's trying to bite me. He does not like what I'm doing. Okay, he's like, quit taking me out of the dark. So you see this guy, his mouth is like, no, he's not a good example. Let me find a good example. This one is a good example. Okay, so this beetle, his mouth is like in front of his face. So it comes out in the front. And then like a grasshopper, who also has a chewing mouth part. Let's look at this lubber grasshopper. So if you look at the lubber grasshopper, see it's underneath of its body. I have too many bugs in my hands right now. No such thing. Okay, there you go. You see how the mouth is pointing down? And then you also have insects that have mouths that point down along their body. Look, our beetle is trying to get up. Let's put you back in here so you don't crawl away. So then you also have insects that have mouths that run down along their body, like the piercing, sucking insects. Okay, I'm gonna put this guy away for right now, because then I also want to show you. So we know what these are, right? So this is what you find after it is hatched. So these are from the Insect Museum, and so they have labels with them. The other one, I slipped that one off, and I will make sure to put it back on so that we can see it. But we know what these are, right? They're the exuvias, or the molts of the cicadas. From when they're underground, they crawl up on the tree, and they leave these on the trees. You can find them. So you can see here, there is that beak. So they even molt or shed their mouth part. It is so cool. Very cool. There, you can see it really well right there. So it's right here, right there, right where I'm pointing is the beak. Super cool. We're gonna come back to these because we want to look at their legs also. So how about this guy? Do you remember pinning our insects? So this is one that we pinned. This is the bellostomatid, or the giant water bug, also called a toe bug. And I'm going to, he's all nice and hard. And I made it so that we could see his mouth part. Do you remember that if you tuned in to the pinning demonstration? If not, that's okay. Those videos are available on our Facebook page, our YouTube page, and also our website. So here we're gonna take a look at this one's mouth. Look at that beak. Look at that beak. Can you see what I'm talking about? Right here, my friends. See how it comes down? And then whenever that, see, I had to keep it out because that would run along down his body, but not as far as that cicada for sure. That beak is so big. So the reason these are called toe biters is because people say that they bite your toes. They're only gonna bite your toes if you step on them, and they like to live in shallow water. And what do humans like to do in shallow water? We like to walk through it. I know I do. So if you accidentally step on one of these, it will bite you. And if you pick one up, it will bite you. So you have to pick it up in the right way. And these also fly. and they're active at night. So a lot of people will find these at bright lights, including their porch light. So there's his piercing, sucking mouth part. Now there are also other types of mouth parts that we don't have examples of here today, and that is the siphoning mouth part of a butterfly. So I don't have any living butterflies, and I checked our collection to see if any of the preserved ones had their mouth part out. None of them did, but if you try to uncurl the mouth part from a butterfly, then it's going to break if it's preserved because it's hard. So the siphoning mouth part of a butterfly, it looks like a curled up straw, just like that, but it's more tightly wound when it goes into their mouth, and it can be extremely long. I do have a cool video of me pulling a moth's mouth part all the way out of its mouth. It's pretty cool. Okay, and then how about the chewing, lapping mouth? What is that? It's two mouths combined. So honeybees and bumblebees have a chewing, lapping mouth part. So that means they can chew things like pollen and wax and lap up nectar. And then we also have a sponging mouth part of a fly that looks something like this. It's like that. And then if I turn this over and we're looking at the base of it, it looks like this with a bunch of little dots. And it's like a sponge. And so flies land on their stuff. They put some saliva out, just a little bit, and then they start slurping it up, sponging it up like a sponge. Okay, so now we're gonna talk about something new. We're gonna talk about legs. If you guys have any questions about mouth parts, just let me know. But we're gonna talk about legs next. And legs are super cool, all different types of legs. And the first leg we're gonna talk about is the crawling leg. So the crawling leg does just what it sounds like. It's going to, come here. It's going to crawl. So you can also call these walking legs. They are used to walk away off of the paper, just like this guy is. Funny guy. We're gonna look at if he lets us. Let's see if he's gonna let us. Look at his leg. Because he's got nice big legs. So these again are crawling or walking legs. And if we look at this leg, you can see it comes in different sections, which those are called like segments. So an arthropod, it has a segmented body. So we have a segmented body, and the anatomy of an insect's leg is actually similar to the anatomy of a human's leg. So the first part we're gonna look at is up here. Come here, my friend. Where's my forceps? Can we switch hands? Because I am right-handed, and it's more difficult for me to use that. So we're gonna turn him over. This is one thing about working with live animals, is trying to get them to cooperate. Now, I'm not hurting him. He's just hanging out there. So this first part of the leg right here is called the coxa. And that would be kind of like our hip area. That's what that would kind of be like. And then here in the center is the trochanter. Let me get his leg out of the way. So right here is the trochanter. There, you can see it. Trochanter. I'm trying to watch my insect and the camera. And then look at this big part right here. You see this big long part? That is the femur. Does that sound familiar? If you know anything about human legs, you know that we have a femur. That's our thigh bone. So this big part right here, that is like our thigh. It's even called the same thing. And then if we move down on the insect here, they don't really have a knee, although they have like joints right here. But this is the tibia here. This whole part is the tibia. And then if we come down here, whoa, then we have the tarses. And the tarsomeres are all of these little tiny sections right here. And a lot of times they'll have little pads on them. And then these right here are the tarsal claws. Can you see those? Those little claws. These guys have really big tarsal claws. They use those to hang on to things. Okay, let's put this guy back. Oh, I forgot to compare it again to the humans. So the knee would be like right here. And the tibia, we also have a tibia. That's our shin bone. So some of them are also named after the parts of our legs. Which came first? Probably the humans. Okay, so those were walking legs. Now I also have an animal here that has jumping legs. Whoop, and there she jumped. She wanted to show off, but she wasn't on camera. So this is an eastern lubber grasshopper, and they feed on grass, leaves, different plants, and you can see they have a chewing mouth part, and you can see those awesome mandibles up here and all these palps. It's a great mouth. It's an awesome mouth. Really cool. You can see him moving. Very cool. Okay, but we want to focus on this lady's legs. So their front legs are used for crawling or walking, but look at these back legs. Do you see how big this femur is? That's like our thigh. So look how big that thigh is. There are so many muscles packed in there. And they use those muscles to jump. So you know a grasshopper's gonna jump when they fold their legs in. Let's see if I can get her to jump. There she goes. Let's see it again. Right onto the glass. So they fold those hind legs in, and then they use the strong muscles inside to jump forward. Right over there. So those are jumping legs. It looks like her leg is hurt. Let's see. Can you jump? Oh, there she goes. She's okay. She's okay. And check this out. These guys have spurs on their legs. This is cool. If we look here, where like the knee would be, come here. You see those spurs down there in the black area? Those are cool. So those can be all different lengths, or they can be really reduced or really little, or they can be really big like this guy, lady. Okay, so those are jumping legs. And what has jumping legs? Those are grasshoppers, crickets, There's probably a couple other that I'm not thinking of. Oh, how about these guys? This is cool. So first I want to show you on one that's alive. This is a praying mantis. We've looked at these before. This is the Indian flower mantis. Come here, little guy. And their front legs are called Raptorial Legs. Do you see how those front legs? We're looking at these ones right here. Here, you see those? Now they hold them. Where's my forceps? Check those out. A leaf hopper. That's right, Eli. Good example. See those raptorial legs? Come here. I was hoping that it would reach out for me. There it goes. Yo, look at those raptorial legs on there. Aren't those cool? So they use them like a raptor dinosaur. They reach out really fast to grab flying insects. Very cool. My beetle escaped the life of the insect zoo. So those are raptorial legs. Look at him shaking his little bum there. His abdomen. He's trying to look camouflaged, so I don't eat him. He does not know that I will not eat him because he is beautiful and expensive. Yeah, look at that guy. He's dancing. He's doing our praying mantis dance. Jumping spiders are not an insect. So we are talking about insect legs. So jumping spiders, they don't have a jumping leg that's different than what an insect has. We can talk about that on another day. Okay, so then I wanted to show you a preserved praying mantis, and it's raptorial legs. So this one is preserved, and you can see how right here is the femur. Then we have the tibia here. And in this case, the tibia is really fat. Remember on the jumping leg, it was the femur that was really fat, but here the tibia is, and that's where all of their muscles are to make it really strong. And then of course we have the tarses there. And these open and close right here so they can grab their prey. And then they have all these spurs all over to help them grab so that it can't get back out. But then back here they have walking legs or running legs. Okay, so how about this guy? I'm so excited for this one. This is a mole cricket. These are pests of like turf grass. But I think that grass is a pest itself. That's just my personal opinion. Grasses, non-native grasses require so much water, and they suck the nutrients from the earth. And so my yard is mostly creeping Charlie, white Dutch clover, violets. I love creeping Charlie. You don't have to mow it. I'm taking out a huge section of my yard right now and building raised beds and putting pathways in it. So eventually my yard will be grass free, all bug friendly. So this mole cricket, it digs down into the soil and it has a chewing mouth part, and it eats the roots of grasses and other plants, mostly broadleaf plants. And look at those legs. Aren't those amazing? Those are called digging legs. So they're a mole cricket. They dig down in the ground. And you know what? If you watched our story about Una. Did anybody watch our story about Una? If you did not watch it, it is a great story. And I read it live on Monday. Was that Monday? I think it was Monday. You should go back and watch it. It is such a great story. I wrote that story. But we met a mole cricket in that story, and they live underground in holes and tunnels. And they dig those with those digging legs. And you can see, where did my forceps go? Look how short the femur is. The femur is super short, but not only the femur, but also the tibia. And it's the tarsus that is one of the longest parts of it. And look at all those tarsomeres. So those are those little segments. Those are the digging legs. Super cool. These guys are really neat. If you capture one of these in your yard, I would love to have it. So if you are in Iowa, you can mail it to me in a little pill bottle or something. I would love to have one. I like to have these alive because they're fun to watch. Okay, now I want to bring us back to these cicadas. How do they dig? Great question. So these digging legs are like shovels with spikes on them. So they use them. They're so strong. They can dig very, very fast. Very fast. In fact, they're hard to capture because they dig so fast. And they're so strong and powerful. There are muscles packed inside of those legs. So they just start scooping away the soil as they're digging down into it. It's really awesome to watch, which is why I like to have them with alive, because it's fun to watch them dig down. So now I want to show you back to our cicadas, because remember what this is? This is the cicada shells you find on the trees. What kind of legs are those? Those, my friends, are digging legs on the front. Walking legs on the back. You see those? Those are digging because these live underground. So they have to be able to dig through the ground to get to the roots to eat. So they have front digging legs. But now look, this is the adult. What kind of legs are those? On the front. Those are walking legs or running legs. So even between the same insect, but just a different stage in its life. So this would have been the stage of a nymph. This is the exuvia or exoskeleton of a nymph that had lived underground for 3 years. So it had digging legs. But then as an adult, what does it have now? It has running or walking legs, crawling legs. That is so cool. I love how it can change. And again, it's based on its need. These guys need to dig underground. These guys need to be able to walk around and to fly. Okay, we're gonna look at one more type of leg. And that is our friend here, the bellostomatid, the toe biter that was that we pinned last week. So these guys have swimming legs. So there's a lot of aquatic insects or insects that live in the water. And it's very easy to capture those. You can get an aquatic net and just go and scoop in the water. So these again like to come to lights also. So they have swimming legs. So you can see that they're flat. Do you see how flat they are? And they also have all this setae, all these little hairs all over that helps them to swim fast through the water. Big, strong, look at his front legs. So these, they use those to capture their prey also. These front legs, that's why these are so fat right here. it's got a lot of muscle in there so that they can move them really, really fast, because these are predators. They eat small fish and insects, snails. You can see all those fine hairs along there. Can you see those? Those are all hairs. They're kind of shiny. Those are hairs, the setae. Look at those hairs there. That helps them swim. And they're like little they're like little paddles. Very cool. So swimming legs. So we talked about jumping legs, swimming legs, crawling legs, raptorial legs, digging legs. We also talked about chewing mouth parts. Did I say jumping legs? We talked about jumping legs. We also talked about, I'm going to turn this around here. How about that? We also talked about the mouth parts. So we were able to look at piercing, sucking mouth parts and chewing mouth parts. And then we talked a little bit about the siphoning mouth parts, sponging mouth parts, and chewing, lapping mouth parts. So guess what? That's all I have to show you today. Friday is going to be awesome. Do you see my hair right now? It's so windy. It was so windy outside. My hair is awful. So Friday is going to be so fun. I can't wait. So in case you guys didn't know, I'm a beekeeper. And during my undergrad at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, I worked as a beekeeper. And I'm also a honey judge. So I judge honey at the Iowa State Fair and the Kansas State Fair, and I've done Nebraska, Missouri, and Kentucky also. So I love bees, I love honey, and I love keeping bees. Right now I don't have any hives of my own, so Randall Cass, who is an extension entomologist beekeeper for the entomology department, he's gonna let me come out to his hives at the ISU Hort Farm. And so I'm gonna do that on Friday, and we're gonna open the hive. Randall's gonna be my cameraman, so I don't have to worry about how to hold the camera. But we're gonna open up some beehives. We're gonna look inside. We're gonna talk all about bees. I love talking about bees. So please join us on Friday at 10 a.m. until 11. Invite your friends. Let's have a good old bee party. Yes. And then next week, we're gonna do some more anatomy of bugs. We're gonna talk more about how these animals breathe. So insects, how they breathe, tarantulas, how they breathe, scorpions, how they breathe. And we're gonna look at those parts of their body. And different insects, how do aquatic insects breathe? Somebody know? I don't know. We're also gonna have a quiz. So on Friday of next week, we're going to have a quiz about bugs, and it's gonna be live. So I'm gonna ask questions, and then I'm gonna wait for everybody to respond before I give the answer. And it's all things that I would have taught in our lives so far. So if you need a refresher, go back and watch those videos. Make sure you're sharing with your friends. And don't forget about the YouTube and our website. I'm gonna put that into the little description of this video here. So my friends, thank you so much for joining us. I can't wait for Friday. It's gonna be super fun going out and seeing the bees. And go forth and love the bugs.